It never fails. In all of my rib videos, someone will randomly comment, hey, you gotta take off the membrane. You're supposed to do that. That's the only way to do it, period. And I'm like, all right, thanks for sharing. Do you still cook your ribs 3-2-1, and do you pull your brisket at 165 and wrap it right then and there? You gotta learn something new. In this video, I'm gonna show you the difference between one with the membrane on and one with the membrane off, and we'll see what the fuss is all about. Let's get into it. So let's talk membrane. I've got here two beautiful looking racks, St. Louis style cut, ribs, and we flip these guys over. We'll trim them up a little bit first off. There's usually a little flap here. You can just take that off. It's just gonna burn. And on this particular one, I've got a big old piece hanging off the edge here. I'm just gonna take that off. Now these are trimmed quite well. You can see on this end, it's full of meat, okay? So lots of times I would take that off because it would be too thin. In this particular case, we don't have to do that. Take off some of this. And this one doesn't really have a flap. Sometimes the flap's there. Again, thick piece there. And in here we have our membrane, okay? Comes in on a baby back ribs. It goes the whole length. On St. Louis, it kind of goes over here and is not right there. Why do people take this off? The membrane can be chewy if your ribs are not cooked properly, right? So lots of people take it off just because they don't want to run the risk of having any issues with the bite, right? Here's the challenge, and with St. Louis style ribs, there's a lot of fat here, right? So if you take off the membrane, all that extra moisture just drips right out of your ribs. With the main membrane on it, leaves kind of a backstop. So you end up with some really juicy ribs, and if you cook them properly, you won't generally have a problem with the membrane. Now listen, I was a diehard membrane off guy for a long, long time, but you gotta be open to change. I've never done them side by side, so today we're gonna figure that out. But on one of these, I'm gonna pull them off, and I'll take this one that's closest to me. Basically, what you do is you take a butter knife and you get up underneath. Maybe this can either be easy or not easy. You never know. All right, so now I'm up underneath there a little bit. Always use a butter knife, and then what we do to make it easier is we grab a piece of paper towel and this one's really stuck. Piece of paper towel helps you be able to grab a little bit better. Good thing I got two pieces of paper towel. As you can see, this one's pretty tough. Don't think I can get underneath this one without a knife again. And just like that, we've got two racks of ribs ready. Today, we're gonna use this Heath Rowell's Sweet Barbecue Rub. I've never tried any of his products. I bought these, I don't know, 4 months ago or something like that. And I was dying to try them. So today is the day. Now there's a lot of moisture on here. Lots of people put binders and use mustard and then say, oh, don't worry, you won't taste it if you don't like mustard. Well, what's the point of putting it on? I haven't used binder on ribs in a long time. And again, like I used to all the time, but you gotta adapt, right? You gotta try new things. One thing that YouTube has really done for me is it's kind of pushed me out of my old ways. I'm a stubborn guy. I got my own little hang-ups, right? But it's really forced me to step out of my game a little bit and try some new things. Otherwise, I'd be doing the exact same videos all the time and you guys wouldn't be watching and my channel would be a failure. And people say, with the membrane removed, you get more smoke penetration, you get more seasoning penetration. We will be the judge of that. But to be truthful, on a set of baby back ribs, I actually do remove the membrane still. I have not done a head-to-head on there. That'll be another video to try. These ones have a very specific reason for leaving it on. But like I said, I've never tried it side by side, so maybe I'll prove myself wrong here at the same time. But you can already see this is starting to soak in. It smells good. This is the Sweet Heat one. He has a competition one, which I have downstairs. I'll try that maybe next time. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna let these kind of tack up for 15-20 minutes. I've already gone outside and I've started up the Yoder. I'm using some Bear Mountain pecan pellets today. Really nice on pork. If you haven't tried pecan, it was years before I tried. I kind of always stuck to the oaks and the hickory and mesquite. And then, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I started using some pecan from time to time. And I really do enjoy it. So if you've never tried it, I highly recommend you try it. But what I did is I filled up a pellet tube. We're gonna run that the entire time. It's gonna run for about 4.5 hours. Use a torch, get it good and lit, and then let that fire burn for a little bit. And then what I did is I turned on the Yoder. I set it to 200, and as you can see, it's wet outside. contrary to the t-shirt, it's only 35 degrees outside and we have 3 to 6 inches of snow coming in. So that's gonna change the snow here very quickly. I decided to bump it up to 250. I will probably, after the first 2 hours, go up to 275 to get some good rendering. We'll see how it looks. These are thicker pieces of meat, so they're gonna take a little bit longer. But I decided not to stretch out the smoke for too long just because of the weather. And I'm gonna be able to run out and get some snapshot B-roll for you in the snow. But I don't wanna be out messing with it for too long. It's gonna be heavy here in the next 5 or 6 hours. So I'm hoping these will be done before then. I'm gonna let these soak or sweat, and then when we come back, you can see they're already starting to turn a bright red color. The rest will do that, and then we'll get them on. So as you can see, it's only been about 15, maybe 20 minutes, and you can see these are bright red now, except for where the fat is, and we've got some moisture coming up to the top. So these are ready to put on. I'm gonna take them outside and put them on the Yoder. We're gonna put them on the top rack, and I'll put the side with the membrane towards the back, the side without the membrane towards the front, and we'll leave them like that, and we'll let them go for a few hours. All right, so it's been 3 hours. Take a look at these guys. They have an absolutely gorgeous color to them. I let them go for 2 hours. Then I gave them my first spray with just straight water, and then I let them go another 45 minutes. And gave them a spray, and then I just gave them a spray before I pulled them off 15 minutes later. So we're at a grand total of 3 hours right now. These are not done. At this stage, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wrap these. I stopped wrapping ribs a few years ago and got some great results. This year I'm gonna go back to experimenting with wrapping again, and most people wrap them. So I wanted to give you a video that you could relate to on the membrane, and most people are gonna wrap them anyhow. So what we're gonna do here, these guys are not done yet. I'll show you the temperature, not hitting the bone, 145, 143-ish. I'm assuming both of them are pretty close. This one's a 147. So they are pretty close. This one's a little bit more meatier. We're gonna slip those over to the side. And I'm gonna bring this here just so I've got a backdrop here. These things are amazing. I have a link in my Amazon store to them. They're OXO squeeze bottles, but what I like about them is that when you use a red sauce or something like that, they don't stain. So I've filled this up a whole bunch, and it still looks like brand new. So we're gonna put in just some raw honey here, maybe a tablespoon. And I've just got some vinegar. We're gonna add that in a second. And then I've got a barbecue sauce I like. This is out of Canada, Diana sauce. Haven't had it in a while, but I do really like it. Take some vinegar. Maybe a couple, not quite a couple tablespoons, let me see. Maybe a tablespoon and a half is what I was able to fit in there if I had to guess. And just so you know, this sauce is warm. It's not out of the fridge, it was downstairs on my shelf full of Canadian seasonings. Every time I go back, I bring a whole bunch of stuff back with me. So there we go. We've got a little bit of vinegar to thin it out, some honey for some sweetness. Lots of people use butter. I don't really use butter that often on ribs. It's just a nice sauce. It's a light sauce with a little bit of tang to it. And of course, our rum and Coke. Cheers. And here I've got heavy duty foil. And as I said, these guys are not done yet. We've got some good bend to them, but we don't have very much pullback, and they're not breaking or anything. They've got a ways to go. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna get our bottle dirty, and I'm gonna put a good base. You know what? Just put a good base on top of this, and I'll turn it around. I wanna make sure we're swimming in some glaze here. Don't need too much on the back. Now this is the one with the membrane. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna wrap these super tight. Tight is very important. You don't want to steam. And if you don't wrap them tight, that's what's gonna happen. All right, one at a time here. More in the middle this time. And before I flipped on the camera, I did turn the Yoder up to 285 just to speed it along. Don't need any more smoke flavor. We're not gonna get any in the foil, but we wanna push this along. The snow is definitely coming. If you get any of these little dark pieces, you can just pull them off if you want. They'll come out of the ends of the bones. Sometimes they get hard, and what will happen is they'll actually poke holes in your foil, so be aware of that. Seeing this, I probably could have used a little bit more vinegar. Because we're only at 145, more fat's gonna render out of these and we're gonna get a bunch of moisture in here, all right? There's no hard set rule of when to wrap your ribs. Do it on color. If you push it to 165 or higher, a lot of times if you're using a rub like I'm using, there's got some sugar in there. It's just gonna get dark. It's the last thing you want. So we'll wrap this up nice and tight. And if there's one thing I could have, it would be running water outside. So much easier inside to just wash your hands real quick. It will happen. All right, so we've got these nicely wrapped, nice and tight. All right, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put these on probably for an hour, maybe a little longer because these are thick cuts of meat. But we're gonna try and go, we're looking for probe tenderness and somewhere between 200 and 208, really. Probably not, usually probably 206. We want a nice soft chew, but we want to be able to leave a bite mark when we bite it. Let's throw these on and I'll see you in a little bit. All right, so it's been exactly an hour. If you haven't figured out, we're changing from the holiday season to regular, so you're seeing my background change a little bit. But these have been on for another hour and I think we're in pretty good shape. It is just starting to snow like crazy outside, which is awesome. That's sarcasm. And these guys actually might have gone too far. His backside, let me see. 203, just the really separated away, let's see. No, just lots of bone pullback. And there's actually, I see why. That's, the end on this guy is pretty darn thick. There's a little bit of extra loin meat on top of them. Is what's happening there. So let's see where we're at here. So this one here, they're cooling down quick, but this was at 200. And this guy here, this one was a little higher. This one was like 204, 205, right? This is a guy without the membrane, just for those who are keeping track. So what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna get some cotton gloves out here real quick, just so I can kind of handle these without burning my hands. And what I've done is I went on my phone and I turned the Yoder up to 325. We just wanted to tack up our sauce. Lots of people ask me about these white cotton gloves. They're in my store on Amazon. Just buy a 12 pack or whatever. And they're super helpful for handling really hot food when you want to have clean hands in a hurry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this guy off here, pull them both off. Man, look at that guy. Not spill that anywhere, but I'm gonna push this off to the side real quick. But I mean, take a look at those guys. I mean, they're looking gorgeous. You can see they're pretty flexible. We've got some bone pullback. I'm surprised how far that's flexing without tearing. It's close. There we go, right there. There we go. You can see some in there. But both of them are looking really, really good. I almost don't need to put any more sauce on them, but why not? Put a little bit of a thicker coating on it. The same thing. A little bit more vinegar. I went with 2 tablespoons of vinegar. You can definitely see the color difference, or the difference in the sauce. Viscosity is the word I'm looking for. These are gonna be saucy, just like their father. That's a little weird. Anyhow, I'm gonna go put these on for about 15 minutes or so and let all this sauce, we've got a fair amount of sauce on here, let this tack up and then we'll bring them in, let them rest and try them. So it's been 15 minutes. Let's dig in. Just to keep us honest here, this guy is the guy without the membrane and this guy still has the membrane, okay? You can see some of it right there. We're gonna cut one here, cut one here. Ollie has come over to say hello because he loves pork. And right here. All right, so there we are. This is without the membrane. Here's with the membrane. Visually, they're not too much different. You can see the moisture when I squeeze it. Good smoke ring. There's the other side of it. A little bit more moisture on that side. Let's try the one without the membrane. Again, great bite, good flavor. Yeah, so if you look at these two side by side, taste, seasoning, smoke, texture, chew, is there any differences between these? No. I cannot tell them apart whatsoever. They both taste like phenomenal ribs to me. We don't have an issue with the chew with the membrane on there at all. It bites right through, no problem whatsoever. And if you didn't wrap them and you kept them out there, that membrane gets even crispier and it's fine. No problems whatsoever. So as far as I'm concerned, pulling off that membrane on at least St. Louis style ribs isn't worth the time. If ribs are your thing, check out this video. If you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.